Mr. Thompson here. So we're looking at U.S. History Standard 2, more specifically Part B of that standard, which focuses on describing the Middle Passage, the growth of the African population, and its contributions, including architecture, agriculture, and foodways. As tobacco farmers and other cash crop farmers prospered in the colonies, they greatly expanded the size of their farms. Because of the resulting need of workers to plant, grow, and harvest the crops, farmers turned to African slaves to fulfill their growing labor needs. The first Africans arrived in Virginia in 1619. During the colonial period, approximately 250,000 Africans were imported to the colonies. Again, remember, import means brought in. The vast majority of these slaves were concentrated in the agriculturally intensive southern colonies. However, all of the English colonies allowed and had slaves during the colonial period. The African slaves who were forced to fill this labor role in the American colonies were brought over to North America on dangerous and crowded slave ships along the previously mentioned Middle Passage, a portion of the transatlantic trade route. The slaves were originally captured through the African slave trade within the African continent and then brought to the West African coast for barter with European slavers. Rum, cloth, weapons, and other European manufactured goods were traded for Africans. Between 3 and 400 slaves were packed into the cargo holds of slave ships bound for North America. About 2 of every 10 slaves died during the Middle Passage. There was no single African culture. People brought from West Africa as slaves represented a large number of different cultures. In an effort to control their slaves, slave owners tried to strip away the cultural identity of their slaves and sought to replace it with the culture of the plantation or region to which the slave was brought. However, the physical isolation of the slaves from their masters led to the creation of a blended culture rather than a total replacement of one culture over another. What resulted was the creation of a unique African American or black culture. Foods such as okra, watermelon, yams, rice, and even grits have been attributed to the blending of African and European cultures. The practice of blending different African tribes on a single plantation led to the creation of blended language patterns such as Creole in Louisiana and Gullah in coastal Georgia and the Carolinas. Economically, coastal South Carolina and Georgia owed its prosperity to the introduction of rice that was supported by West African and West Indian slaves. Ironically, it was this same rice production that served as a food source for West Indian sugar plantation whose bottomless labor demands expanded slavery in the European colonies. Architecture is another topic where we can see African influence shaping America's development. Slave labor often built the homes and buildings of their American masters. Over time, Traces of Africanism found their way into the styles of how buildings were being constructed. The shotgun style home has been traced to a dwelling style popular in Haiti, and even further removed to a style of hut popular among the Yoruba people of Western Africa. A shotgun house is characterized as a very long, narrow house with a front porch. The simplistic style, with its entrance being on the short side of the home, is different from European styled homes. The homes are 1 room wide and 2 to 3 rooms deep, with only doors separating the rooms, no hallway. Archaeologists also suggest that some of the building materials used on Georgia plantations may have African roots. The wattle, daub, and tabby material used in early Georgia coastal construction is similar to the woven sticks covered in mud or clay technique of West Africa Ashanti homes. That wraps up Standard 2, Section B, describing the Middle Passage, growth of African population and their contributions, including architecture, agriculture, and foodways.